Well, it's about noon and 2 squalls have already passed overhead. The weather is just crazy unsettled at the moment. But I think we're going to leave the harbor. I don't know if this is the best idea, and we're going to sail about 15 nautical miles over to a place that some of you may already be familiar with because a very fantastic sailing channel has already been there. Let's hope that we don't get caught in a lightning storm on the way. I'm Maya, and this is Aladino. Our journey began a few years ago when this boat fell off a crane. After 4 years of rebuilding her, we named her Magic Carpet and we set sail to go around the world as slowly as possible. This season, we're sailing in the Netherlands. Join us as we explore the history and strange natural beauty of this seafaring nation. From the canals of Amsterdam to the pastoral islands of the Wadden Sea, welcome to Magic Carpet in the Netherlands. New episode every Friday. We had spent the last few nights in the very modern and well-equipped harbour of Volendam, watching in wonder as squall after squall passed overhead. With no end in sight to the turbulent weather, we decided to take our chances and try to time our exit in between squalls. Our destination, we figured, would be worth it. We're just going to wait it out at the mouth of this bay here. Maybe we'll put down the anchor if necessary. I think it'll be gone in a few minutes. It's moving pretty quickly and then we can set sail. Crazy! It's, yeah, what is it, 1 p.m. maybe, and we're already on the 3rd squall of the day.
Alright, I go throw the anchor down. So we just came out here and dropped the anchor because we're waiting for these squalls to pass by. There's another really dark one approaching, and mostly we don't want to get wet, so we wait here. From how the wind is blowing, it should just blow it exactly beside us, but it would be exactly in our course if we would continue sailing on.
Magic Carpet danced on her anchor, but we had made the right decision. The squall passed and we weren't caught in its path. But already another one was approaching on the horizon.
It is almost past us and we didn't get a single drop of rain so far. So there it goes. Actually, it looks very interesting. It has that circular shape to it, which is, well, yeah, that front passing by. We wait a little bit still because it is yet over the direction we want to go.
There were no more squalls on the horizon for now at least. Talk about a weather window. We hurriedly pulled up anchor and prepared to set sail.
here we go. We are reaching right now. Our destination is dead downwind, but that is not the nicest course to steer, since your Genoa is in the wind shade of your main. So we are reaching instead, and we might have to do a jibe somewhere in between there. Quick preventer is on and the whisker pull, but I am all about action, so I can undo and change any moment. It's just good to practice these things and do it once in a while. Anything to add? Quiet captain there in the background?
No, it's good. I'm just focusing on steering. It always requires more focus when you're steering downwind.
Totally.
When you're steering upwind, if you go off a few degrees, it's not really a big deal, but
What?
here you've got to be a bit more careful.
It's not okay. Any direction. Wow, beautiful sunshine, hey? And I would just say we outrun that next dark cloud that is coming again. How about that?
Well, we can certainly try.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
There are these gusts that come.
5.7,
Holy.
5.8. That's a good speed. If we do like that, we'll be there in a little over 2 hours. It's just 12 nautical miles away. Oh, but we're not going straight to it, so a little longer, as usual.
If you're familiar with the area or with YouTube sailing channels, then perhaps you've already guessed where we're going. And if you haven't, don't worry, we'll get there soon enough and the mystery will be solved. But for now, we had to focus on our course and on constantly scanning the horizon for any more developing squalls. So far, so good.
How nice to be doing a passage going 6 knots, isn't it?
Pretty great.
Yeah. Imagine I would have cleaned the bottom. Ha! Hopefully it will clean the bottom a little bit as we sail along like this. This is really nice. We are approaching our island. We're going to an island tonight if there is room, because we can make reservations. So we jibed around once. All the squalls are past us in front.
I'm glad we waited for those squalls, because now we've just had great weather. And did you notice, Amore, when we were leaving, when we pulled up anchor, there was a couple on a small boat coming in?
Yeah, and they also anchored, didn't they?
Oh, I don't know about that, but they were wearing their full wet weather gear, and they looked like they had just been through quite a time.
Yeah, well, of course, if you get rained on by that squall.
Yeah.
No, this is great.
By now, we had gotten used to the greenish hue of the Dutch water. Compared to the deep ocean blue of the Mediterranean, I have to admit it looks a bit less inviting to jump in. But it provides an interesting contrast to the sky, so there's that at least. As we continued on our downwind course, the waves had a bit of fetch to build up into a short and choppy pattern. We'd been warned by Dutch sailors that the lakes here can actually test the stomachs of even the most salty sailors, because the wave patterns are so unpredictable. Unlike an ocean swell, there's no rhythm, and the short wavelength makes the boat bob around wildly.
Whee! It's definitely a bit bouncy on this course, but we're almost there. I can see the island. It's definitely not very lush or green yet. I don't know if it ever will be, if that's the intention. It's pretty sandy. I see some nice dunes and I see the harbor entrance. Oh, and Maya is a little seasick.
Fortunately, we were almost there. I steered the final stretch, which can supposedly be a remedy for seasickness, but it didn't work this time. I hate being seasick, beyond the obvious reasons, because obviously nobody likes it. It always just makes me feel like I failed. And I know that's silly and irrational, and the vast majority of sailors get seasick, but my dad is actually one of the very lucky few who is absolutely impervious to it. He sailed around the world for 7 years, around Cape Horn, down to Australia, across oceans and the equator multiple times. As the stories go, while the rest of the crew would be leaning over the railings in abject misery, he would be down below making a sandwich. I always hoped that I'd inherit this wonderful trait, but unfortunately it escaped me. I'm more of the abject misery type. Fortunately, though, we were almost there. Aladino brought in the sails and we motored into the protection of the breakwater. What a lovely respite. The blowing wind made docking difficult, but the moment we were safely tied up, I needed to go for a walk on solid ground. I was feeling a bit worse for wear.
Ready to go walk 12K?
Ooh, is that how long it is?
I think so.
There is a lot of walking trails here. I think you could probably walk even more than that.
Oh, the shells are harsh on my feet.
Oh, amore.
I wish we had feet.
Oh.
Because that means bicycles in the Netherlands. So we're joking around all week already about do we go with the feet or with the feet?
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as you can see, we're on the marker Wadden, and as I'm sure most of you who follow our channel know Kika and Dan from Sailing Uma, so they came here. They made a beautiful video about it. Aladino and I are neither as fun or energetic as Kika and Dan, but I can play you some sad violin tunes later. So we'll make our own.
And I can make some pasta.
We'll make our own episode about marker Wadden. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. I actually don't know if we're going in the direction we want to be walking, are we?
Well, I don't have a direction I want to be walking, so yes, I'm going the right way. So that means you want to go somewhere else?
I feel like that's a profound statement
to
apply to all of life.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, she gave us that map, but I don't know what I did with it. Oh gosh, we're really in a state. You know, well, I'm in a state.
Oh,
we
good.
came into the harbor, and
it was windy.
It was really windy, so it was actually very difficult, and it was coming on our beam, and so it was difficult getting into the box, and it wasn't that graceful. And then the moment we tied up, somebody came over because he recognized us from the channel, which is super nice. Hello if you're watching. And normally we love that, but I was like still kind of feeling sick from being seasick, not very stoked about how we just came into the box, just kind of like tired and like in the sun, and I just couldn't make small talk. I just couldn't do it. I'm sorry if that was you. I feel like I was super awkward. Anyway.
No, that's all right.
Okay, so yeah, where are we going? Oh, should we go back and get that map that they gave us?
No, just if you have a specific plan.
Yeah, well, she told us about that walking route.
Yeah, this is part of it, and otherwise we go on the other trail, and that's also part of it.
Okay, let's go. Who knows where we're going? Let's do it. The marker Wadden is a very interesting place, and as soon as my feet hit the ground in this somewhat surreal landscape, I started feeling better both in body and spirit. This artificial archipelago didn't exist until only a few years ago, when the Dutch decided they needed a nature sanctuary, and so they set about building one in the middle of the Markermeer. The irony of people building a nature sanctuary was not lost on me, but it does actually play an important role here. The Markermeer is already an artificial lake, which the Dutch created by damming off the former Zuiderzee, which was basically a large bay in the North Sea. As usually happens when humans drastically alter the natural surroundings, it made life rather inhospitable for all animals other than humans. The green color of the water, which we had noticed earlier, is largely due to huge amounts of silt, which becomes especially riled up when the waves cause turbulence in the really shallow lake. All this silt means that light can't penetrate very far below the water's surface, which makes it difficult for algae to photosynthesize. This has a cascading effect on the entire ecosystem. With no algae, then animals which eat algae can't survive, which means that animals which eat algae also can't survive. And in the end, you get a big desolate green lake with no fish or birds. The marker Wadden aims to at least help this situation by providing a highly protected habitat with sheltered ponds and wild areas where life can flourish. Because of this, tourism is possible only in specific areas of the Marker Wadden archipelago, with whole islands left entirely to nature. The tourist dollars help bring in money to fund the project, which is why docking your boat here is much more expensive than most marinas in the Netherlands. I can't actually remember exactly what we paid, but it was noticeably more than the usual 18 to 20 euros per night. But for one night, we found it well worth it, and I'm happy to see my money supporting ecological causes. Plus, they built these really interesting bird-watching huts.
You are like gold dust over me, just like an angel set me free. Where are you now? Do you feel safe? I don't need an answer, just need some space.
Birdwatching is one of the best activities on Marker Wadden. I won't pretend to know anything about birds, but Aladino enjoyed trying to capture them on camera using his grandmother's zoom lens.
Do you still carry all that weight? Don't need an answer, just need a debate.
I love these. It sort of feels like the peepholes in fortresses, but instead of shooting enemies, you're watching birds, which is a much more wholesome experience. And there's a super nice view of the sea as well. I can see a catamaran out there, which is cool. You don't actually see catamarans here too often because the harbors aren't really set up for them, as far as I've seen. But there's one sailing along. As we watched for a moment, we actually realized something pretty interesting about the catamaran.
It's the Ocean Youth sailing catamaran that I helped building.
That's so crazy. We just realized it when it tacked around.
Yeah, because then you can see the side that is blue and yellow with its special design.
Equipment. It's exhausting. Exhausting being a YouTuber, I tell you. Especially because Kika and Dan always do such a phenomenal job with their videos and all their angles. They're really impressive. So now I feel like I have to live up to the hype and I'm tired. Kika and Dan, why do you set such a standard? Wouldn't it be cool if these glasses like elongated out into binoculars?
Totally.
Doesn't it? It probably looks like they could.
It does.
You could like pull them out and like
They look like mad scientist glasses. Honestly, to me, the birds are not the reason I came here. Even though it is a bird sanctuary, it's more about the place. I really like it. I like the landscape, I like these bushes, and of course there's some birds too, but it's not like we have binoculars or knowledge or zoom lens. So
we do have a zoom lens.
Yeah, but it's not a bird zoom lens. So there's some birds around, but there always is. And I mean, I do I do appreciate that they made this thinking of the birds, but it's not like
cut this out.
But it's not like that was the attraction for me to come here.
I mean, okay, fair enough point. Like, we're not bird watchers. I don't know very much about birds. But it is really nice. They have a sanctuary.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the landscape itself is just really cool. And Like Lavezzi is a pile of rocks in the ocean, literally.
This is a pile of sand.
Not in the ocean, but close enough.
In a lake.
Wow. Sometimes we get comments from people when we do videos about places. They're like, the tourist board should be paying you. You guys are doing such a great job promoting this place. We might not get that for this place.
Not for this one. No. Anyway.
We continued our walk and came across the next bird watching hut with a very different but equally beautiful design. Feels like we should whisper. Yes.
Now there's the architect.
What's that?
Well, the bird's nest here.
Yeah?
Some clay and some hay. Pretty cool.
It is amazing, actually. I mean, it's just stuck to that beam.
Yeah.
We emerged from the second birdwatching hut just as golden hour was beginning to sweep across the island. Golden hour light is always magical, but in this surreal landscape, it took on a whole new dimension as we walked over to the third and final hut. You can see into the water. Wow. This is actually totally magical. The sun setting and the bird song and the water right here. This is amazing. I'm not a bird watcher, but I almost feel inspired to become one. This is where I didn't expect this.
The buildings are really creative.
Yeah, they really are.
Very cool.
Okay, the battery on our camera is almost dead, and the battery in us is also almost dead, so it's time to go back to the boat. The sun is setting, but that was a totally magical experience. I have to admit, when we got off the boat to go walk around, I was kind of like, oh, we have to walk around to film. But you know when you're just tired and you're not in the mood for doing anything other than lounging and being lazy. But I'm so glad we did, because I feel so energized and so good now. That was so much more than I expected. Very cool. Now, I offhandedly promised you some sad violin, and I wanted to deliver on that promise, so we set up a beautifully aesthetic shot on the sand dunes overlooking the setting sun. But my highly trained cameraman accidentally filmed all the moments in between when he actually meant to record. And so we ended up with a bunch of footage that looks like this, and none of me actually playing. Plus, shortly after, we were kicked off the dunes as we apparently weren't allowed to sit on them. I would call that some sad violin indeed. Clearly, it was time for some dinner and some sleep. So with that, I'll call this episode a success and say a huge thank you to all of you for watching. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, you guys know the drill by now, and an extra big thanks to our patrons for making all of this possible. Extra big thank you to these folks who really go the extra mile to make sure that Magic Carpet keeps being produced, and we'll see you all next Friday.